You're making wrong decisions constantly and paying the price repeatedly. Watching others make better choices consistently, while you struggle with indecision and regret. Recognizing that decision-making is not luck or intuition, but systematic process. Knowing that better decisions create better life, while poor decisions destroy opportunities. And losing massive potential, because without decision framework you rely on gut feelings that fail constantly while systematic approach makes better decisions inevitable. This poor decision-making is systematically destroying your life by ensuring random choices produce random poor results, destroying your opportunities by making you choose wrong paths repeatedly, destroying your confidence by proving you cannot trust your own judgment, destroying your progress by forcing you to undo bad decisions constantly, and ensuring that years pass filled with regret because poor decision-making compounds into poor life outcomes while systematic decision process creates consistently better results automatically. Making better decisions is not about being smarter or having more information, but following proven systematic process that eliminates common decision errors. Not about perfect choices, but consistently better choices over time, and not mysterious talent, but learnable framework anyone can master. This audiobook teaches 5 fundamental steps that make better decisions automatic, including defining what you are actually deciding to avoid solving wrong problem, gathering right information, not all information, to prevent analysis paralysis, evaluating options systematically using decision matrix, not gut feeling, committing decisively without second-guessing to avoid decision regret, and reviewing outcomes to learn from every decision, making future decisions progressively better through systematic approach. Stop making decisions randomly and start deciding systematically. Stop trusting unreliable gut feelings and start following proven process. Install 5 fundamental steps. Practice them consistently, make better decisions automatically, and create better life through unwavering commitment starting now. Chapter 1. Step 1. Define the decision. Know exactly what you're choosing. Step 1 defines the decision clearly. Understanding exactly what you're choosing because most bad decisions result from solving wrong problem. The definition process involves stating the decision as specific, clear question. Identify what outcome you actually want to achieve. Understanding constraints and requirements limiting available options, recognizing what's negotiable versus absolutely non-negotiable, distinguishing between decision you think you're making and decision you're actually making, and understanding that clarity about the decision itself fundamentally determines quality of ultimate choice. Vague problem creates vague solution. Define decision clearly first. Solve right problem or waste effort. The problem definition power shows that well-defined problem is already half solved, that vague decision inevitably creates vague poor result, that clarity eliminates options that don't actually address core issue, that specific question focuses analysis productively, and that most decision regret comes from solving wrong problem well instead of right problem correctly. The common definition mistakes include stating problem too broadly, making it completely unsolvable, confusing symptom with root cause requiring different solution, letting emotion define problem instead of objective reality, accepting someone else's problem definition without questioning its validity, making decision before actually defining what you're deciding, and treating symptoms repeatedly instead of addressing underlying core issue. The question formulation means stating decision as clear specific question requiring definitive answer, ensuring question addresses actual problem, not merely tangential issue, making question answerable through available information and reasonable analysis, avoiding loaded questions that presuppose particular answer, and treating question clarity as absolute prerequisite for good decision making. The outcome identification involves defining what success looks like specifically and measurably, understanding what you're trying to achieve or avoid, recognizing multiple possible objectives and prioritizing them clearly, distinguishing between must-have requirements and nice-to-have preferences, and ensuring decision addresses the outcome that actually matters most, not secondary concerns. The constraint recognition includes identifying realistic limitations on available options like budget, time, resources, understanding non-negotiable requirements that options absolutely must meet, recognizing trade-offs inherent in situation, accepting constraints as decision context, not obstacles to overcome, and using constraints to eliminate obviously unsuitable options, quickly saving analysis time. The reframing practice involves questioning initial problem definition critically, asking whether you're solving right problem, considering whether different framing reveals better options, checking if you're being asked to decide something that shouldn't be your decision, ensuring decision is actually yours to make, and verifying you have authority and responsibility for this choice. The scope determination means deciding how big the decision actually is, not making small reversible decision into life or death choice, not treating genuinely major decision as trivial, matching decision process rigor to actual stakes, and understanding that decision importance determines appropriate effort investment. The problem versus solution distinction shows that defining problem is separate from choosing solution, that rushing to solutions before understanding problem creates poor choices, that spending time on definition saves time overall, that clear problem statement often reveals obvious solution, and that premature solution focus limits options considered. The stakeholder consideration involves identifying who is affected by decision, understanding whose input matters and why, recognizing whose problem you're actually solving, checking whether you're solving your problem or someone else's, and ensuring decision authority matches decision responsibility. The decision ownership means accepting that this is your decision to make, taking responsibility for outcome good or bad, not deferring to others when decision is yours, not making someone else's decision for them, and treating ownership as prerequisite for committed implementation. The false dichotomy avoidance includes questioning whether decision is truly binary choice, checking if more than two options exist, avoiding either or thinking when both and is possible, recognizing when refusing to choose is itself a choice, and ensuring you are not artificially limiting options through framing. The implementation requires stating every decision as specific, clear question before proceeding further, identifying exactly what outcome you want to achieve, recognizing all constraints and requirements honestly without wishful thinking, questioning whether you're solving right problem, not just obvious problem, ensuring decision is actually yours to make, taking ownership of decision and its consequences, and treating decision definition as fundamental first step making better decisions possible, where vague problem definition guaranteed poor results regardless of analysis quality, because solving wrong problem well is still complete failure, wasting time and resources. Vague problem creates vague solution. Define decision clearly first. Solve right problem or waste effort. You understand now that clarity precedes quality, that definition determines direction, that right question reveals right answer, that constraints focus options, and that Chapter 1 provides foundation making good decisions possible where confusion made random choices inevitable. Chapter 2. Step 2. Gather relevant information. Get what you need. Ignore what you don't. Step 2 gathers relevant information needed for decision, avoiding both insufficient data and analysis paralysis. The information gathering process involves identifying what information is actually necessary for decision, distinguishing between need to know and nice to know information clearly, seeking data that helps differentiate between options, avoiding gathering information indefinitely as procrastination, setting information gathering deadline, and understanding that perfect information is impossible but sufficient information is achievable. Too little information is guessing. Too much information is paralysis. Gather what's needed, then decide. The information sufficiency shows that more information is not always better, that diminishing returns apply to data gathering, that analysis paralysis kills decisions, that gathering information beyond necessity is procrastination disguised as diligence, and that good decision with incomplete information beats perfect decision that never gets made. The necessary information categories include facts about each option's characteristics and likely consequences, data showing which option best meets defined objectives from step 1, information about constraints affecting feasibility, evidence about risks and probabilities, experiences of others who face similar decisions, and information that actually differentiates between options, not just interesting facts. The information sources include direct personal experience and observation when possible, expert opinions and published research findings, relevant data and statistics, analogous situations and case studies, trusted advisors familiar with your context and constraints, and primary sources over secondary interpretations when available. The information gathering mistakes include researching endlessly without ever deciding, seeking only information confirming pre-existing bias, gathering interesting but irrelevant information, not knowing what information you actually need, trusting unreliable sources without verification, confusing quantity of information with quality of decision, and using research as avoidance of decision responsibility. The analysis paralysis recognition shows that perfectionism prevents deciding, that waiting for certainty that will never come, that more research feels productive but delays necessary action, that information gathering becomes comfortable avoidance of decision responsibility, that deadline forces decision with available information, and that perfect is enemy of good enough. The information sufficiency test involves asking if additional information would actually change decision, checking whether you know enough to differentiate between options clearly, determining if information gap is critical or merely interesting, setting firm deadline for information gathering phase, understanding when you have enough to decide confidently, and recognizing when continued research provides negligible additional value. The bias awareness means recognizing confirmation bias, seeking only supporting information, avoiding availability bias, overweighting easily remembered examples, checking anchoring bias, being inappropriately influenced by initial information, questioning authority bias, accepting expert opinion without scrutiny, and actively seeking disconfirming information to test assumptions rigorously. The source evaluation includes assessing credibility and expertise of information sources, checking for conflicts of interest or bias, preferring primary sources over secondary interpretations, verifying claims through multiple independent sources, understanding that not all information has equal value, and treating source quality as important as information content. The information organization involves categorizing gathered information by option it supports, creating simple comparison framework for evaluation, documenting assumptions and uncertainties clearly, making information actionable for decision not just collected, and structuring data to facilitate systematic evaluation in step 3. The research deadline importance shows that time limits force completion, that deadline prevents endless research procrastination, that adequate time for research depends on decision stakes, that deadline can always be extended if truly necessary, and that committing to deadline creates healthy pressure to synthesize and decide. The good enough principle recognizes that additional information has diminishing marginal value, that waiting for perfect information means never deciding, that some uncertainty is unavoidable and acceptable, that deciding with 80% information is often optimal, and that execution with good enough information beats perfect analysis with delayed action. The implementation requires identifying specifically what information you need before gathering anything, setting clear deadline for information gathering phase, seeking relevant information that differentiates options, avoiding analysis paralysis by limiting research time strictly, evaluating source credibility critically, organizing information to support systematic evaluation, recognizing when you have sufficient information to decide, and treating information gathering as means to decision, not end itself, making better informed decisions possible. Either insufficient information created blind choices, or excessive information created paralysis, preventing any choice at all. Too little information is guessing. Too much information is paralysis. Gather what's needed, then decide. You understand now that sufficiency beats perfection, that deadline forces decision, that bias distorts research, that sources vary in value, and that Chapter 2 provides information foundation, making informed decisions possible where either ignorance or paralysis made good choices impossible. Chapter 3. Step 3. Evaluate options systematically. Use framework, Not feeling. Step 3 evaluates options systematically using decision framework, not unreliable gut feelings. The systematic evaluation involves listing all viable options explicitly, defining criteria for evaluating options based on desired outcomes, rating each option against each criterion objectively, calculating overall scores or rankings, comparing options directly using same framework consistently, and understanding that systematic evaluation eliminates emotion-driven poor choices. Feelings change constantly. Systematic evaluation reveals truth. Use framework or choose emotionally and regret. The decision matrix power shows that structured evaluation reveals best option clearly, that consistent criteria enable objective comparison, that systematic process reduces bias and emotion, that documented evaluation explains decision to others and future self, and that framework prevents choosing based on most recent information or strongest emotion. The criteria definition means identifying factors that actually matter for this specific decision. Deriving criteria directly from desired outcomes defined in step 1. Limiting criteria to 5 to 7 most important factors. Making criteria specific and measurable when possible. Weighting criteria by importance if some matter significantly more, and ensuring criteria actually differentiate between options meaningfully, not just describe them. The scoring system includes rating each option on each criterion using consistent scale, using simple scale like 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, being brutally honest in ratings, not favoring preferred option, documenting reasoning behind ratings, calculating weighted totals if criteria have different importance, and understanding that numbers create clarity even when ratings are somewhat imprecise. The option generation involves brainstorming all possible options before evaluating any, not eliminating options prematurely, considering non-obvious creative alternatives, including doing nothing as explicit option, avoiding false dichotomies, limiting options artificially, and ensuring you have genuine choice, not predetermined outcome with fake analysis. The common evaluation mistakes include choosing first acceptable option without comparing alternatives, using different criteria for different options creating bias, changing criteria mid-evaluation to favor preferred option, letting some costs influence evaluation inappropriately, making choice based on emotion, then justifying with reasoning, and not documenting evaluation process, enabling self-deception. The gut feeling role shows that intuition has value, but should not override systematic analysis. That gut feeling is pattern recognition from accumulated experience, that intuition works better for familiar decisions in your domain, that emotion should inform, not determine decision, that systematic evaluation catches errors intuition misses, and that when gut contradicts analysis, you should understand why before proceeding. The trade of recognition involves understanding that no option is perfect on all criteria, that choosing means accepting one option's weaknesses, that trade-offs are inherent in all decisions, that best option is one with acceptable trade-offs, not perfect option that doesn't exist, and being explicit about what you're sacrificing for what you're gaining. The sensitivity analysis means checking if small changes in ratings would change decision, identifying which criteria most influence outcome, testing whether different weights would alter conclusion, understanding how robust conclusion is to assumptions, recognizing when decision is close call versus clear winner, and knowing whether conclusion depends critically on uncertain judgments. The second opinion value includes seeking input from trusted others, explaining your evaluation framework and results, listening to challenges and alternative perspectives, using others to check blind spots and biases, understanding that explaining decision to others clarifies your own thinking, and treating disagreement as opportunity to reconsider, not threat to defend against. The documentation importance shows that writing evaluation down prevents memory revision, that documented process can be reviewed later, that future decisions benefit from past evaluation approaches, that documentation forces clarity about reasoning, and that written evaluation is harder to manipulate through self-deception than mental evaluation. The option comparison facilitation means creating simple matrix with options as rows and criteria as columns, filling in ratings systematically, calculating totals or rankings, visualizing comparison clearly, and making trade-offs between options explicit and visible. The implementation requires listing all viable options explicitly before evaluating, defining clear evaluation criteria based on desired outcomes from step 1, rating each option against each criterion honestly and consistently, calculating and comparing overall scores systematically, checking if gut feeling aligns with systematic evaluation and investigating discrepancy, documenting entire evaluation process, and treating systematic evaluation as fundamental decision step making better. Choice is possible where emotional or reactive decisions created regrettable outcomes because feelings change moment to moment, while systematic framework provides consistency enabling defensible choices. Feelings change constantly. Systematic evaluation reveals truth. Use framework or choose emotionally and regret. You understand now that structure beats emotion, that criteria focus evaluation, that documentation prevents bias, that trade-offs are inevitable, and that Chapter 3 provides evaluation method making rational decisions possible where feelings made irrational choices inevitable. Chapter 4. Step 4. Commit decisively. Choose and move forward without second-guessing. Step 4 commits decisively to chosen option, moving forward without destructive second-guessing. The decisive commitment involves choosing based on systematic evaluation completed in Step 3, announcing or implementing decision promptly, closing of reconsideration, unless truly new information emerges, accepting chosen options' known trade-offs without regret, moving forward with full commitment and energy, and understanding that indecisive implementation undermines even objectively good decisions. Indecision kills good choices. Decisive commitment enables success. Choose and commit or achieve nothing. The commitment power shows that decisive action beats perfect decision with hesitant execution, that fully committed implementation often makes choice successful, that half-hearted execution guarantees poor results regardless of option quality, that confidence in decision enables effective action, and that commitment eliminates mental energy wasted on continued questioning. The decision regret prevention involves accepting that unchosen options will sometimes look attractive in retrospect, recognizing that grass always appears greener elsewhere, understanding you cannot know how other options would have actually worked, remembering why you chose based on best available information at decision time, and treating decision as learning experience, not mistake, even if outcome disappoints. The second-guessing trap shows that reconsidering constantly wastes mental energy and time, that changing mind repeatedly prevents any option from succeeding, that constantly questioning decision creates anxiety and stress, that second-guessing often results from normal post-decision discomfort, not actual error, that commitment period is necessary before fairly evaluating decision quality, and that doubt is normal but shouldn't trigger reversal. The implementation commitment means following through fully on chosen option, giving decision adequate time to produce results, not sabotaging choice through half-hearted execution, providing resources and support needed for success, understanding that premature abandonment guarantees failure, and treating implementation as part of decision, not separate from it. The post-decision dissonance recognition involves expecting uncomfortable feelings after deciding, understanding that doubt is normal psychological reaction, knowing that discomfort does not mean wrong choice, resisting urge to reconsider based solely on uncomfortable feeling, giving yourself permission to feel uncertain while staying committed, and treating discomfort as normal, not signal to reverse. The new information threshold means establishing what new information would justify reconsidering decision, distinguishing between truly new information and second thoughts, requiring significant new data to reopen decision, not using minor information as convenient excuse to reverse, treating decision as closed unless threshold clearly met, and understanding that minor information should not overturn systematic evaluation. The announcement effect includes making decision public to increase commitment, telling others your choice to create accountability, explaining reasoning to clarify your own thinking, using social commitment as motivation to follow through, understanding that public commitment strengthens private resolve, and treating announcement as commitment device, not just information sharing. The momentum building involves taking immediate action, implementing decision, creating quick wins showing progress, building confidence through early successes, establishing routines supporting chosen option, using action to overcome lingering doubt, and understanding that action creates its own justification and momentum. The patience requirement shows that most decisions need substantial time to show results, that expecting immediate validation is unrealistic, that hasty judgment about decision quality is premature, that giving adequate time before evaluating fairly, that some decisions only prove themselves over months or years, and that patience is virtue in implementation. The commitment period determination means deciding how long you will fully commit before reconsidering, setting reasonable time frame based on decision type, communicating commitment period to yourself and others, treating period as firm unless truly new information emerges, and understanding that commitment period prevents premature abandonment. The reversibility consideration involves recognizing that some decisions are reversible if truly wrong, that knowing you can reverse if necessary reduces decision anxiety, that reversibility should not mean constant reconsideration, that most decisions should be treated as final even if technically reversible, and that commitment is stronger when decision feels permanent. The implementation requires choosing decisively based on systematic evaluation from step 3, announcing and implementing decision promptly without delay, accepting known trade-offs without regret or second-guessing, resisting second-guessing unless truly significant new information emerges, committing fully to making chosen option work through dedicated effort, giving decision adequate time to produce results before evaluation, and treating decisive commitment as fundamental execution step, making better outcomes possible where indecisive implementation undermined even objectively good decisions, because hesitation and doubt prevent success regardless of option quality selected. Indecision kills good choices. Decisive commitment enables success. Choose and commit or achieve nothing. You understand now that commitment enables success, that doubt is normal but shouldn't trigger reversal, that implementation matters as much as choice, that patience allows fair evaluation, and that Chapter 4 provides commitment framework making successful execution possible where hesitation made failure inevitable. Chapter 5. Step 5 Review and learn. Extract lessons to improve future decisions. Step 5 reviews decision outcomes, extracting lessons that improve all future decisions systematically. The review process involves evaluating decision outcome after adequate time passes, analyzing what went well and what did not, identifying what you would do differently knowing what you know now, documenting lessons learned for future reference, updating your decision-making process based on learnings, and understanding that systematic review compounds decision quality exponentially over time. Unreflected decisions teach nothing. Systematic review compounds wisdom. Learn from every choice or repeat mistakes. The review timing shows that reviewing too early misses long-term effects, that adequate time depends on decision type and stakes, that some decisions need months or years to evaluate fairly, that premature judgment often reverses later as situation evolves, and that patience allows proper assessment of decision quality separate from short-term luck. The outcome evaluation involves measuring actual results against expected outcomes defined in Step 1, identifying whether decision achieved intended objectives, assessing whether assumptions proved accurate, recognizing unexpected consequences both positive and negative, understanding that results teach more than intentions, and treating outcome as data point informing future decisions. The process evaluation means reviewing decision-making process itself, not just outcome, identifying which steps were done well or poorly, recognizing where bias or emotion influenced choice, checking whether systematic approach was followed fully or shortcuts taken, distinguishing between process quality and outcome luck, and understanding that good process produces better outcomes on average over time. The what went well analysis includes identifying decision aspects that produced good results, recognizing what information or analysis proved most valuable, understanding what you did right in process, celebrating good decision-making practices, reinforcing effective approaches, and treating successes as learning opportunities equal to failures. The what went wrong analysis involves identifying decision mistakes or oversights honestly, recognizing where process broke down or was skipped, understanding what information or analysis was missing or wrong, accepting responsibility for errors without excessive self-flagellation, treating mistakes as learning opportunities, not character flaws, and extracting specific lessons from failures. The lesson extraction means deriving specific actionable lessons from decision experience, identifying what you would do differently next time, recognizing patterns across multiple decisions, creating personal decision rules based on accumulated experience, treating each decision as data point, improving future choices, and documenting lessons while fresh in memory. The documentation importance shows that writing lessons down prevents forgetting over time, that documented learnings compound as personal wisdom, that personal playbook captures hard-won wisdom, that reference during future decisions saves repeating mistakes, that writing clarifies thinking and lessons, and that documentation is gift to future self. The decision quality versus outcome luck involves recognizing that good decisions sometimes produce bad outcomes due to uncontrollable chance, that bad decisions sometimes produce good outcomes through pure luck, that judging only on outcome confuses process with results, that over time good process produces better average outcomes, that reviewing process quality matters more than celebrating or lamenting results, and that luck averages out over many decisions. The pattern recognition means looking for recurring decision mistakes across different situations, identifying personal biases that consistently cause errors, recognizing decision contexts where you struggle, understanding which decision types you handle well naturally, using patterns to guide future improvement focus, and treating patterns as more reliable than single data points. The framework refinement involves updating your personal decision process based on learnings, adding steps that proved valuable, removing steps that did not help, adjusting evaluation criteria that proved poor predictors, treating decision framework as living document, improving through use, and understanding that framework should evolve with experience. The meta-learning involves learning how you learn from decisions, recognizing which review questions produce most insight, understanding your personal decision weaknesses, identifying which lessons actually improve future decisions, and treating review process itself as improvable skill. The accountability integration means sharing learnings with accountability partner or mentor, discussing decisions and outcomes honestly, receiving external perspective on decisions, using others to identify blind spots, and treating external input as accelerating learning beyond solo reflection. The implementation requires reviewing every significant decision after adequate time for results to manifest, evaluating both outcome and process honestly without defensiveness, extracting specific actionable lessons learned, documenting lessons in personal decision playbook for future reference, updating decision process based on accumulated learnings, sharing and discussing learnings with others, and treating systematic review as fundamental practice, making future decisions progressively better through accumulated wisdom, where unreflected decisions provided no learning, creating repeated mistakes indefinitely because experience without reflection teaches nothing, making review essential component of decision mastery. You have learned 5 steps to make better decisions every time. Step 1 defines the decision, clearly knowing exactly what you're choosing. Step 2 gathers relevant information, getting what you need while ignoring what you don't. Step 3 evaluates options systematically using framework, not feelings. Step 4 commits decisively, choosing and moving forward without second guessing. Step 5 reviews and learns, extracting lessons to improve future decisions. What matters now is implementing 5-step process starting immediately. 5 implementation priorities. State next decision as clear specific question. Gather only relevant information with timed deadline. Create simple evaluation matrix rating options against criteria. Commit decisively to chosen option without second guessing. Review decision after adequate time to extract lessons. Execute systematically. Practice with every decision. Compound decision quality over time and make better decisions through commitment. Stop making decisions randomly and start deciding systematically. Stop trusting unreliable gut feelings and start following proven process. Install 5 fundamental steps consistently. Practice them with every significant decision. Learn from every outcome and make better decisions every time through unwavering commitment starting right now today.